there's a lot of questions and there's a lot of answers too. I mean, I think that's the beauty of where Tennessee is right now is that they've developed some depth and they've got some answers in some spots. And then there's certain positions, Eric, I just don't think I'm going to worry about while Josh Heupel's the head coach at Tennessee, and receiver being one of those. But I think when you talk about the three questions, you got to start at the right tackle spot, and where are they going to be at right tackle? And that's the biggest question. And you look at what they're losing in Darnell Wright, whose stock continues to go up. He's at the NFL Combine this week, so we'll see. I think it's a great opportunity for him to further increase his stock by showing his athleticism. The one thing you're starting to hear more and more when you talk about Darnell Wright is just the durability, the number of snaps that he has played. When you look at what he's done the last couple of years, it's an incredible number of snaps, Eric. I mean, 1,500 or something like that is the snaps that he's played at in the last two seasons at Tennessee. And I think that's something that everybody is looking at and everybody is taking note of with him is that durability. So where's the answer for that? Where does Tennessee find? They're not going to replace. I don't think they have anybody on the roster that has his talent, but who has the durability? Who can anchor the left or the right side? Can J.J. Crawford flip over if need be? Is it going to be Dane Davis? How does that work? Where does Larry Johnson factor into the equation? Gerald Mincey is a left tackle all the way. They've got to find. They piecemealed it on the left side with two guys last year, and I don't think they were great. I think they were okay in both Mincey and Crawford. They were great on the right side and never had to worry about it. Where do they find that answer on the right side? So that was question number one. Question number two for me remains the tight ends. You and I have talked about this numerous times. I think it's the most undervalued position in this offense because everybody talks about the 20-yard receptions, the 30-yard receptions, the 60-yard receptions to the receivers. They don't talk a lot about what the tight ends do and how the tight ends create some of those mismatches for the receivers. By the way, Tennessee uses them in motion and formations and can keep them on the field at all times. They got Jacob Warren. They got the Castles kid. And then what did you have? And they've been fortunate, Eric. They were really fortunate last year, in my opinion, that Princeton Fant, who never really showed a lot of durability, he'd been banged up most of his career, played a ton of snaps. They got through the year last year with Jacob Warren not being banged up. That's a blessing there. So can they get through this year at the tight end spot with two, or can a third tight end emerge? Who would that third tight end be? I don't know. I mean, I'm not out of the realm of thinking they could even look in the portal if somebody pops up there. They've been very fortunate the last couple of years not to have major injury at that position, Eric. That's a concern because they don't have enough depth there. So those are two of the questions. The third one, who's going to lead on this football team, right? We knew who the leader was last year, whose team it was last year. It was Hendon Hooker's. Whose team is it this year? Supposed to be Joe Milton's. Will it be Joe Milton's? Does he have those abilities? Nobody had any question about who the leader of the football team and the offense was a year ago, and that's Hendon Hooker. That's a lot of leadership to replace.
Yeah, I think two of the questions you're going to kind of have to feel it out all the way up until kickoff, maybe. I mean, in terms of leadership, I feel like leaders are made in the winter. Your team is split into like 4 or 5 different groups in terms of workouts, and you come together a couple days a week for team organized activities and conditioning sessions and stuff like that. But when you're in those individual workout groups, I mean, that is a great opportunity for some guys who have maybe have been kind of sitting on the sidelines in terms of leadership, maybe, figuratively and literally on the football field, but to step up and kind of be that leader in that workout group and then seeing if it translates over into the team organized stuff. And then ultimately onto the practice field, it come a month from now. So I think in terms of leadership, that's something that's going to be evolving, but no doubt about it, you need it to be your quarterback and you need it to be Joe Milton. As far as the tight ends, I think that's just kind of, it is what it is, right? You have Jacob Warren. You've got, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. McCallan Castles, he is going to have to play. He's going to have to adapt. He's going to have to understand this offense. And even if he doesn't, Tennessee's going to have to play him because you've got to have 2 tight ends and preferably even more than that to operate efficiently in this offense. And then I want to bring up the tackles here, like you mentioned. Darnell Wright was so good for Tennessee the last 2 years, but I mean, really his 4 years here, he's been an every down guy. I think it's unfair, and I know you're not saying this, but I think it's unfair to say, all right, John Campbell, you're the new Darnell Mincy. Go out there, or you're the new Darnell Wright. Go out there and play, right, and play
Yeah.
to his level. I mean, that's an All SEC type guy, maybe a first rounder. But what Tennessee does need is stability and durability, because that's what Darnell Wright was. Worst case scenario, you can maybe patchwork one of those tackles, but you don't want to patchwork any of them. You've got to have a guy that can go over there and play 70, 75 snaps a game and play at a high level. And it's good that you do have a guy in John Campbell who's played an awful lot throughout his career and has experience, but he, just like Gerald Mincy last year and McAllen Castle's coming in this year at the tight end position, you got to learn everything. You've got to be able to operate efficiently in the offense, and it's much more than just moving the guy in front of you.
Yeah, and for both of those guys, the first thing that's going to happen to them come March 20th when practice starts, they think they know how fast it is from a tempo standpoint, but they don't. So the first thing they're going to have to catch up to is how fast you have to play from snap to snap. Now, I'm not talking about once the ball snapped, how fast you have to play. I'm talking about from one snap to the next snap, and you'll have to adjust to that. So that'll be a learning curve for them. But both those guys are going to have to play. I mean, Castles has to play. There's no other option there for him. At tackle, maybe that somebody emerges other than Campbell. There's some depth there, but look, Tennessee should be to the point with their roster that when they go to the transfer portal, they're going to get an impact player, not a roster developer, a roster numbers guy, a roster building guy. Those two guys may be two of the most impactful transfers Tennessee has. I know everybody's talking about the linebacker from BYU, and they're talking about the defensive lineman. But when you look at the transfers, the two transfers to me that have to make the biggest impact for Tennessee, even beyond Thornton, the wide receiver from Oregon, it's Castles and it's Campbell, because those guys have to step in and fill voids.
You know, it's funny. I did an exercise one day last week, kind of ranking Tennessee's 8 transfer portal additions in level of importance. And John Campbell was number 1 on my book. McAllen Castles is up there as well. If I were to say who would be the third most important for you, would it be Gabe Judy Lolly, the cornerback, because Tennessee needs to get better and needs to have sustained play at the cornerback position? Would it be Keenan Peely, because you lose 2 veterans and 1 very, very impactful player at linebacker? Is it Keenan Peely to pair with Aaron Beasley? Could it be a Charles Campbell, who is going to be competing for that kicker job? And I know no one likes to talk kickers here, but Tennessee was really fortunate to have a kicker that was really solid the past 2 seasons, and never gets the praise you deserve, always gets the grunts when you miss a field goal. Who might be that third most important transfer outside of the 2 we've already brought up, in John Campbell and McAllen Castles?
Well, I mean, in terms of importance, I think you put the kicker up there.
Yeah,
as you mentioned. I do think Thornton is important. I do think they could work around Thornton, and could probably survive without him. But I think Thornton can change. I think he can be that big play guy that this offense desperately needs. I think he's better than Peyton. I'm not saying he's Jalen Hyatt, but I would, I think he's up there pretty high. Peely is a guy who's just that veteran leadership, I think, is important there for them, but for him. But I like the depth they have there. I think they have quality bodies. Now they're young; they're going to be forced to play young guys, but I think they have some quality bodies there. I might go with the kicker. I might go with the kicker as the third most important player. Now, I think the biggest impact guy in terms of numbers and production is going to be Thornton.
yeah.
I mean, I think that's going to be it. But could this offense score points without him? Yes. I don't think they can score as many points or be as explosive without him. But I do think this system would allow them to be successful without him. But he will be the guy that I think a lot of people talk about, but he may not be the most important guy. To me, and I get where you're at with Campbell, to me the most important guy is Castles, because you can't play with one tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying they have the answer without John Campbell at tackle, but at least there's some bodies there to pick from. They don't have many bodies at the tight end spot outside of Castles and Jacob Horn. No offense to those walk-ons, but they just haven't been factors. It's hard to all of a sudden think that they're going to be a factor. So for me, Castles is the number 1 impact guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree.
And I get your
especially.
point on Campbell. I get your point on Campbell.
Mm.
I don't think you're wrong on Campbell. I mean, I think it's 1A, 1B. I think it's a toss-up tight end. I'm not saying you're wrong, but for me, and seeing the impact of the tight end in this offense, that's what jumps out to me.
Especially too when you consider, to this point, Gerald Mincey's only been a left side player, as you pointed out in your piece here. If he can't play right side, if he's just not comfortable, that limits yourself just to two guys, and of course that being John Campbell and then JJ Crawford, who has seen some time on the right side. So that's going to be interesting to see. Hey, thanks so much for watching the video here at Volquest on YouTube, the leading source of University of Tennessee football, basketball, and recruiting. Be sure to check out our latest video right here and our latest live show right above it. All that at Volquest.com and Volquest on YouTube.